Hey guys, thanks for tuning back into Ron's Recreations. Hey guys, welcome back to Ron's Recreations. I'm Ron, your host. You're probably ready for the meat and potatoes of this club cab roof panel on what I did exactly so that you can follow along and do it to your crew cab if you want to do the same. Because if you're like me, I'm not going to pay $1,000 for a piece of sheet metal to act as the panel to go into that crew cab. I do want that removable panel because I want to treat the inside of the cab, but the club cab panel is a much more reasonable solution and alternative to a $1,000 piece of crew cab sheet metal to make that panel. So follow along. Mind you, I am not a certified YouTube engineer. I'm just like you, trying to figure it out the best I can. This is what I came up with, and it seems to work pretty damn good. So let me tell you the first thing that you're gonna do. Let me set the camera up so you can follow along. You're probably ready for the meat and potatoes of how I did this club cab roof panel to fit in the crew cab. I'm gonna kind of give you some of the basics. If you have any questions, just put them down below. Hit the like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notifications bell if you want to see any future updates on the video. Thanks for watching, man. See ya. Can you see? Can you see that all right? All right. I'll probably be popping in and out of the side, but the very first thing that you want to do on this panel before you cut it, you want to establish your center line. You want to mark your center all the way through the whole panel, because when you do cut it, that center line is going to help you establish your center point when you're finishing that panel. This panel overall on mine, I did roughly 8 3/4 from edge to edge. If you put it down into the inset, it's roughly 7 1/4. So the inside panel is roughly 7 1/4 on mine, and what I say, 9. No, I didn't, I guess. 8 3/4 from here to here. From here to here, 7 1/4. Now, once you've done that, I'll set the panel inside and show you how I set the cut. The sides. Now, the back side is going to be that 1 3/8. So from this edge to here is basically 1 3/8 is what I measured. This edge I kept about an 1/8 inch off the inside seam between the roof sheet metal and the back window where they join. There's a body seam in there. So I followed that slight curve because they're slightly curved on both sides. And from the center point, I followed it, and at the very end, I did that final, just slightly curve off the edge. Now, the size of this panel, I think I did it 1 inch. I don't know if you can see that or not. 1 1/8 inches. The sides on both sides are at 1 1/8 inches. The screw holes I centered. When I did my screw placements, I did the center of the peak, then I came to this edge, that edge, the corner, then the corner. Then I split the difference, and I kept splitting the difference to get my screws. On the sides, these tend to be, the side screw spacing is about 2.5 inches all the way up. The front spacing on this panel these are every 2 inch. I still did center to center. The corners are repaired. The centermost point of this one is roughly 1.16 inches, and I stayed just back down from that edge before it curved back up on the center seam. So I kept it down and it goes straight across. It squares down, the back has a slight curve, and then it goes to the point. Now, when you're in the truck and you go to set these panels, well, I'll get back to that. Now, what I'm going to show you now, you guys notice that I made this panel. This is the panel that was cut out of the center of these two panels. This is going to attach to the center, and it's also going to attach to the insert panel itself. This panel ended up being 5 1/8. The spacing on it was basically 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and this is centered. And the reason being is we're going to cover the bottom seam here with 2 screws. Then when we put the insert panel onto it, then it'll be covered by these 2, which is the seam coming through here. This is the seam coming through those. So this acts as the backer board. Now, I'm going to set the big panel in the little panel in here because I want to show you something that you need to account for. Don't cut these panels when they're in the truck. Mark them and pull them out and cut them. You don't want to accidentally cut that inner skin or the outer skin. Inner if you're working inside, outer. Okay, now what I'm going to do is show you how I fitted this club cab panel to the crew cab. The first thing I did is I marked the center of the cab itself so I could align it with the panel so that I knew side to side this panel was centered in the crew cab. Once we determined that that was centered, I placed 1 screw, and like I said, this back panel, I split the difference and the screws are centered for the mounting. So I put 1 screw here. The corner I used little mini vice grips until I was happy with the fitting in the corners. You want to make sure that this is fitted properly. Measure, make your measurements and everything. I also used shop towels to lift the center of the panel so that it stayed level. That way when I came in and fitted this panel up, the panel sat nice and flush all the way across. That way you get accurate measurements from side to side. Your panel sits in here nice the way it should after you're done installing it. And then before you screw this center panel on, you're going to take the insert panel and you're going to fit that one next. That one is going to have a seam over here. That's this line here. So you're overlapping the seams with that strip, because this white panel in the center is getting cut out, but it's also going to be adhered to the insert panel, which is going to make it twice as thick, and it'll help the structural integrity of this cab and enhance it even more. And we'll get back to that later on. But for now, only do your perimeter screws all the way around once you get it in. Then start fitting this insert panel. Then you fit the reinforcement panel on top. Now, before this gets screwed, because you're going to do a lot of screwing in this upgrade. And moving on, when you're ready to start screwing your cab insert in, you're going to want to switch these shop towels, and you're going to want to put in you're going to want to add cardboard. You're going to fold the cardboard up, and that'll act as your insert, and that'll give you your proper spacing. You know, you can bend it and fold it how you want to get the right spacing. But now, don't use these. Now when you have your insert panel in and you add your backer panel in, now when you run these screws, and be gentle, you don't want to ram these things in because you don't want to kink this metal, but you also don't want to screw your outer skin. When you come to the middle, just make sure you penetrate the panel, this white, and the insert. Go slow. Don't zoom them all the way down. Plus you're going to hit the cardboard. That's going to interfere with the full screw. Moving on. Then, once you're all done, then you're pretty much ready to start pulling them out and prepping your installation areas. I'm going to bring you in close with the camera to show you the edge up here, how close to the seam it is, and the difference between the club cab panel insert and the crew cab, and then the difference between the crew cab body, this line here on both the front and rear, and the club cab rear panel that we're fitting. I'm just going to run the camera back and forth and have the panel side to side so you can kind of see the differences there. I didn't really go on into the spacing of the screws here. If you really want me to, post in the comments down below that I left something out, or if you have a question about this installation. You know, I tried to do it with safety in mind, because we're going to be driving this truck, as well as helping the rigidity of the truck, and doing it so it looks right, and it doesn't look like I butchered the truck. So I want it to look like it should have come this way from the factory as an upgrade. Some of the Fords, some of the Chevys I've seen, they just use a headliner board for this area of the cab on some cabs. But the way this truck's designed, we're going to take advantage of it and make removable panels. That way you get full perimeter, front and back, around the whole inside of this cab. Like I said before, this is my forever truck. You know, I don't want to do this again. And I'm just trying to share what I've learned over the years and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I hope you guys appreciate it. All right, here's the corner I welded up and repaired. But if you'll notice, of course, since this is the skin out of a club cab, it's rounded right here. If you like the video, drop a comment down below, hit my notifications bell, subscribe, comments, if I'm doing something that you think is not right or whatever, or maybe hell, like I said, I am not a certified YouTube structural engineer. Oh, one thing I did forget, but I'll show you that in just a sec. Hey guys, when you go to cut your cab, you'll notice there's a little differences between my cab and how your cab's going to end up looking. Now, I cut my cab 12 years ago, and originally I cut it at 1 inch because I planned on reusing the original skin that I cut out and just adding a lip for that skin to set on. Well, 12 years later, I don't think that's structurally sound or as strong or safe. So I redid it to where now this lip is going to be out to here. It's going to be 2 1/8. So when you cut your crew cab, the front and rear panel, you're going to want to cut on the inside of the stamping across all the way around like that. You're going to want to cut that panel, and then here on your little impressions, there's 3 of them on the crew cab, you're going to want to cut this one a little bit further out, because you're going to end up taking this area and folding that edge down to match this, because after this is cut out, then you're going to come back and you're going to trim that seam right in that body line, right like that, right through here, and that's where your final cut's going to end up being. This just gives you a little breathing room so you make a real nice cut all the way around here. That also gives you by cutting it on this side and then coming back and cutting it here, you're ending up with a really nice lip all the way around this sheet metal, all the way around, and it just helps strengthen this lip. This is the inner skin of the crew cab from the front. I can't find where I put the back section panel. It's around here somewhere. But the very first thing you're going to do on this upgrade, when you go to cut your panels out, you'll notice that my panel right here, I cut it 1 inch. The actual panel is like 2 1/8. So when you cut this panel, you want to maintain the 2 inch lip on your cab. When I did